Welcome to How We Grow, an essential playbook to grow and scale your vacation rental business with advice and insights from the best in the biz, with your host, Lynell Gordon. Welcome to the Vacation Rental Show, How We Grow. I'm Lynell Gordon, your host, and I have a really special guest today. So much experience in the industry. He's won multiple awards, including most influential in the industry. He's been on some of the fastest growing vacation rental brands. I mean, he's won global awards. He has been in vacation rentals longer than I have, that's saying something. Can I just say that's a long time? But your experience just goes before you. Michael Friedman, thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Thanks, Lynell. It's great to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Tell me a little bit about the companies you've been involved with, because I found that really interesting.
Yeah, so I've been doing this, now on the real estate and vacation rental side for well over 30 years. Really, I'd say probably the last 16, 17 years specializing in the vacation rental industry. And I got into it, interestingly enough, as I was doing some consulting work in this space, and a franchise company approached me about, working with them as a consultant to put together some training and business development pieces for their new franchise owners. And one thing led to another, and I started that. And that's really kind of, I think, my first really big entree, if you would, into the vacation rental space that kind of launched my career in the space over the last, almost like I said, 20 years, where I've held some various roles with different organizations, working to the top large franchise organizations being iTrip and Skyrun, working on the software PMS side for one of the leading PMS providers in the space. And then about 5 years ago, I launched with a gentleman by the name of Micah Berg, Simon Lehman, and Jim Olin, who have been in the industry for quite some time. We launched Vacation Rental University because we saw there was just a gap in education in this space. And I could talk all about that just in general on one podcast. I know we don't have that kind of time today, but there is still a gap in the industry. And we launched that with about 400 lessons for people who want to self-learn about the industry. We've done some consulting with it, which has been great. And it still exists. The platform still exists. We have about 3,500 members on it, paid and free. And so we still kind of keep that going. And it's just great because it's a really good industry resource. And then most recently, over the last several years, I held a role as chief operating officer for really one of the finest luxury brands for vacation rentals, One Fine Stay, as their chief operating officer for the Americas. Took some time off last fall, which was great, and kind of came back as the CEO of Simple Life Hospitality. We're a property management firm based here in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, but we manage about 150 homes and growing, and mostly in the Door County Peninsula and Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And it's been great. It's been a great career. It's been diversified. It's allowed me to be involved in just different facets of the business and the industry to really keep learning about it. And I think most importantly, helping other property management companies or vendors or whomever that might be in the industry just do a better job of what we do. I think sometimes our industry can have a negative vibe. And I think especially today in the world of social media, and we see a lot of things being posted and said, we're a great industry and we've got great people in the industry. And I think we have to remember that we have to be kind to one another. And we have to be out there helping each other.
This is so true. Let me ask you this. You have, like I said, guys, at the beginning, so much experience. Tell me, what's the top couple of things that you would tell vacation rental owners, managers who have a firm and are trying to grow it? What would you tell them?
I think there's a couple things. I think there's two that really stick out to me that are really important. One is when we've done consulting, or I've done consulting with property management firms, the one big thing I've shared with them is that, yes, you're a property manager, but you can't think like that. You have to think as you were if you were in the hospitality industry, because that's what we really are in. The management of the asset of the home is great, and I think anyone can do a pretty good job of that. But how do you really excel from the guest experience perspective? And I think that is the one thing that many managers, I don't want to say they struggle with, and I don't even say they overlook it, Lynell, is that they may not give it as much attention as they should. And the reason I say that is creating that exceptional experience. I know that buzzword of unreasonable hospitality is going around right now, and it's a phenomenal book. If you haven't read it, it's by far one of the best books I've ever read about how to create great experiences. But we have to do, I think, as a manager, if you're a property manager out there, either starting this now or you're in it and you're trying to scale, you really have to look at that element of your business, which is the guest experience and the homeowner experience. But think like if you were running a hotel, what does that look like? Everything down to the time the guest books, to the time they check in, to the stay, to the review afterwards. But more importantly, the little details like how can you create a great experience? Is it the products you're using in your homes? We just went through a complete audit of that and we rebranded, our products, our soaps, our shampoos. We upgraded those. We make sure that before a guest checks in, they have all the things they need. And I know that's cliche to say, but we send our guests coffee in advance with a brand of Simple Life on it. They get a little packet. So it's just welcoming them to the home before they even arrive at their home in, say Tennessee, and they're coming to Door County. They're getting something from us. And it's, again, setting the tone. So I think if you can set the tone for a great experience, it's going to lead to some really cool things. I think the other part, and this is really more from a financial perspective, and this is something I spoke about this past spring at the VRMA, is how to maximize your revenue through making sure that you have your fee structure properly set up. And when I say that, what I mean by is the fee structure that, you're charging your homeowners. And that's not just the commission, but it's also then the fee structure that you have in place for your guests. And I think one of the hot topics right now, and especially with, the Biden administration recently, looking at junk fees, is that we're not asking you to create and to set up random fees that are junk fees, but make sure that you maximize your fee revenue. And I know we can go deeper into that. I'm happy to share about what we do and how we do it so well.
I definitely think we want to talk about that. I have a quick question in the meantime, burning question on my heart. I recently got an email. I subscribe to a lot of emails from property managers that send emails out to their homeowners or to the guests. I love to get on their mailing list so I can see what they're sending out.
Sure.
And one of the most savvy property management companies I know of who do they don't automate their price. They do automated pricing tools and then they choose their prices. Like they meet once a week, they go through their pricing and they set it.
Sure.
So they're not caught behind like when the booking window really shortened this spring and summer. So they sent out an email and it was awesomely engaging with the homeowner. It's a homeowner email. And they were telling stories about guests that said it was great, what it was great, and featuring houses. And they were so excited for the season. And it was just a really upbeat, featuring some of the people at their office that are doing a great job and the quotes that guests have said about them. Not a word about statistical analysis, nothing. And that's their big thing internally. That's a strategy they have. Tell me, what do you think about that strategy?
I think it's a great strategy. When we look at our numbers, and we have a full-time person on our team that manages our revenue and also kind of, we'll call them our homeowner liaison, if you would. She works with all of our homeowners, making sure, we're properly priced. And we have a outside revenue consultant that works with us that we meet with every 2 weeks. And I think the biggest thing for us as we look at that data, we're doing well. And I say that with being all humble, is that we're doing really well. And I know there are parts of and companies in the industry this year that are struggling, but when we look at our revenue and where we're at and our average homeowner revenue, which is up close to 18% this year over year, which is fabulous. We're sharing that data with our homeowners, especially new homeowners that are coming on board. But more importantly, we're constantly engaging with our homeowners, making sure that as we need to, we're adjusting the prices accordingly. I mean, we have dynamic pricing, so we are making those changes as needed. But I think that the more you can engage with a homeowner, the better. One of the things I've seen with our company, at least in some of the companies I've worked with, is that from the time you start engaging with a new homeowner and they're looking at maybe hiring you as a property management company, I think it's just imperative that you educate them on what you're doing. And the more buy-in you can get from your homeowners, the better it is. And what I mean by that is when you have to make, recommendations for changes, whether it's cosmetic or whatever that might be, the process is so much easier because when you get your homeowners engaged from day one, and they're part of the process, they're part of the onboarding process, they're educated about what you do, why you do what you do. It makes taking the price from, $450 a night down to $350 a night a lot more palatable and easier because they see the big picture. So I think more data for homeowners is better if we can continue to do that. And I think most property managers should be able to do that because there are enough tools out there in the industry to do that.
So you were talking about fee structure and ways to increase revenue. Mm-hmm. Let's chat about that a minute. That's sexy. I love that kind of data that makes money for us.
Well, so I said this at Verb, it was kind of funny. I said, I love fees, and everyone kind of chuckled and laughed, but I do love fees. And I think if we're going to be really honest, which we need to be about our industry, fees are necessary.
Right.
There isn't a property manager globally who, if they didn't have certain fees in place, whether it be, fees for the homeowner or fees for the guest, would be making money or even be profitable.
Right.
I'm just being totally candid there because that is the bottom line truth. And so whoever's going to listen to this or see this or watch it and listen, the bottom line is you have to evaluate your fee structure. We do it twice a year, not to say that we're making radical changes twice a year, but we're looking and making sure that we converting, the way we want to convert. And more importantly, are we getting the revenue we need to get? And I think this is really important. I can go back to what I said earlier. We're not setting up just some random junk fees, although people might look at it and say, well, it is. I look at a junk fee as when I go to a resort and they're charging me $25 a day to swim in their pool. To me, I'm there, I'm paying $300, $400 a night. I should be able to swim in the pool. That to me is a junk fee. But when you look at our fee structure, and I'm going to be totally transparent about what we do with our homeowners, we have an upfront onboarding fee. It's just shy of $3,000. All homeowners pay it, but what it covers is a lot. It covers photography. It covers the permitting process. It covers their first year of annual subscription to VRBO. It covers our team putting them on an additional, let's say, half a dozen plus more OTAs. It covers all of the things necessary for getting that home up and running. And more importantly, like I'll go back to what I said, it engages the homeowner and gets them involved in the process. Beyond that, we charge our homeowners a commission. And then we have some ancillary items that we offer to our homeowners, like our linen program and our home watch program. But at the end of the day, that is a fee that helps us pay our staff, cover the costs that we have, and we're doing well. We also have our fee structure with the guest side of things, and that's where, we do make a margin on cleaning. We have a great damage waiver product that we use, where we self-insure. And last year we made, well over $250,000 in pure profit in damage waiver. But we're also looking at all of those fees and making sure that we're not feeing the guests to death, that they're valuable fees, damage waiver or margin on, or cleaning. People are cleaning the house. They have that. And we do make a little margin on that. From a property manager perspective, you should be making a margin on it. So we have an admin fee for a booking fee, but it's very minimal. But again, we have a reservation agents that take the time to speak to the guests to make the reservation happen. And so when I look at this long term, if you're a property manager and you're not sitting down and reviewing your fees and maximizing those fees in the market you're in, and again, every market is different, so you're going to have to adjust accordingly, you're losing money. The bottom line is you're losing money. And I don't think fees are a bad thing. I think it's just part of the business and how we do things.
No, I think it's a really important part of our business model as property managers. Someone said something last week. They were talking about Doug Brindley. They're like, I can't believe that Doug Brindley keeps all of his pet fees and just go to the homeowner. And I thought, brilliant.
Yeah, and we have a pet fee, and we share ours. Ours, it's $50 a day, and we share that with our homeowners. That's the one fee we do share with our homeowners, but it's an important fee. I'd say probably about 50% of our homes are pet friendly. And the more we can get that are pet friendly, the better, because it's an important part of people's lives. Their pets are just that extenuation.
It's their family.
Exactly.
For sure.
So we encourage pet friendly homes and things like that. But yeah, I think that, again, I think everyone needs to sit down and look at that. What are the fees we're charging our homeowners? There's a cost for everything. If you're using a tool, like we use a pricing tool, we use a cleaning management tool, we have an outside revenue consultant, we have staff, we have salaries. There's costs that get associated with that. And if you were to say, well, we're getting 28% or 25% commission, you're just not going to make the margins you need to.
No.
And so fees are necessary within reason. And as long as they're reasonable, homeowners and guests are okay with them. I really believe that.
This episode of How We Grow is brought to you by Blue Tent. Blue Tent is proud to offer digital marketing solutions for vacation rental professionals. Expand your visibility to new travelers and book more guests with the team at Blue Tent, featuring direct booking sites, email marketing, digital marketing, channel management, and more. Discover what Blue Tent can do for your short-term rentals at bluetent.com.
Tell me about what are a couple of the biggest mistakes you see people making as vacation rental managers?
Wow. I think I'll go back to what I said earlier. Well, there's a couple. I think kind of when you're starting out, or if you're even in this business, thinking about how you operate as a property manager in the mindset of being almost like a hotelier. I mean, you've got to think in that hospitality mindset, because the way you operate that way and you think that way is going to be completely different than, well, I just manage homes and I clean them and I do maintenance to them and you have the guest books, they're great, but we don't really engage them and blah, blah, blah. I don't think that's the way to operate. I think, first and foremost, that's one of the things that I see as a big challenge. The other is scale. And what I mean by that is I think so many property managers look at this industry and then they look at other people in the industry and they're like, oh, they started out in Charleston, South Carolina, and now they're in New Orleans and now they're in Breckenridge. And they see this grandiose growth and scale that in their mind, oh, we should do that too. And I think sometimes when you do that, you dilute your company, you can dilute the brand, you can dilute your operational efficiencies. We're a great example of a company that was founded by a husband and wife team about 7 years ago and focused on the Door County market. Door County is like the Nantucket of the Midwest. It's a beautiful place. And that's where the majority of our homes are. We probably have at least 75% market share in that market. We have homes in what are called the North Woods of Wisconsin, and then in Lake Geneva. We look at our market and say, we're very seasonal. So, October through March for us is a bit challenging. And I think there are a lot of people who are in this boat and they think about, well, I should go into a different market. We've considered that, and we do have a few homes in Florida, but they're just random. But for us, we see the opportunity for scale right here in Wisconsin, for us to add homes in our markets where we're doing really well. I mean, we feel we're at 150 homes now. By the end of the year, we'll probably be close to 175 to 200. And then within 3 years, we should be in that 400 to 500 mark, just here in Wisconsin alone, because there's that much opportunity. So I think when someone's looking at scaling, be careful. It might look sexy to go into these other markets, but what does it mean for you financially and operationally? It's a lot. It's a lot to take on to be, in 3 or 4 markets. Now, if you can do it, more power to you. The other part is profitability. How do I say this with being nice? Maybe I just won't be nice. I'll just say that there's too many companies out there today in this industry that are operating and they're not making money. And that's a shame. And so where I'm going with it from a mistake perspective is, number one, you need to be looking at your numbers daily or weekly, however you want to do it. We do. You need to be looking at your financials. You need to be looking at costs, expenses, negotiating with vendors for better pricing, all of those things, because there's too many companies in our industry today that are losing money, and they shouldn't be. And it's sad. We're fortunate. We make money. We're profitable. And I can say that, and we're proud of it. But there are just too many that aren't. And whether they don't know how to get there, maybe that's it. But I think they have to really step back and really think about where do they want to be from a financial perspective. And part of that is that growth I mentioned. Just because you're in more markets doesn't mean you're going to make more money.
That's true. I think that's excellent advice, strategic growth, and make sure you're paying attention to your financials. And I have a story. I think this is really interesting.
True.
We used to keep up with, people equate the number of homes with your revenue, right? More homes, more revenue. That is so not necessarily so. We used to keep our growth to like 100 properties. Now it's more like 200 properties, but they're all high-end properties. And it used to be that you could, and you probably still can, I haven't done it in a while, go to the tax office there locally, see who's paying the most in taxes. So even though you may not be the largest property management company, they were the most profitable.
Absolutely.
And that is so important when you're running a business, no matter what kind of business. Now, I am interested in some homeowner stories or guest stories that you have for me, because I know we spoke about that by email, and you mentioned you had great stories. So I have been waiting for these stories. So come tell me.
Well, yeah, for sure. I'll start on the homeowner side because I think this is one that can resonate with everyone. We do a really great job of marketing to the markets we're in, to individuals who are either with another company, have never managed before, or are self-managing. And I think one of the best stories is recently in the last year, we had a homeowner who was self-managing. They were doing about $18,000 and change a year in gross rental revenue management. And they approached us because they saw that they were struggling. They were getting the call at 11 o'clock on a Friday night because the toilet didn't work and the other things that were happening. And they just didn't want to do it anymore. They didn't live in the area. They lived in Chicago. And so we engaged them. We sat down with them. Now, keep in mind, self-managing, paying no commission, making, around 18 grand a year. Not bad. They hired us. We charged them our 25% commission. In the first year that we started working with them, we generated about $93,000 in rental revenue for them. And after they paid us our commission, they netted, around $70,000, a $51,000 improvement based on where they were and change again. I think the message there is that if you're managing your homes in your market, there are a lot of people out there who are in that same boat. They don't want to pay the commission because they think they're going to lose money. This is a perfect example of someone who was doing it on their own, really was struggling with it, not financial reasons, but other reasons, hired us, paid us our commission, made more money at the end of the day, and didn't realize they could do that. And I think that's just one story of many, whether they're doing it on their own or with their maybe another company in the market. But I love the stories like that of people who are doing it on their own because they see the big picture now and they see the value in what we bring, not just our 25 or 28% commission, whatever that would be. It's the value we bring from all the other aspects of things, of taking care of their home, their asset, making sure that it's well taken care of. If there are things that are damaged and, we're taking care of those things. And that amount they pay us, it doesn't mean anything to them. It's just like, yeah, it's worth every dollar. And they would actually, believe it or not, even pay more probably because we do such a great job of it. So that's a great, I'd say, homeowner analogy or story, if you would. I've got some great guest ones, and I'm going to give you two. One that's a really positive one, and one that's kind of like shows the creativity, I'll say, of the guest. A couple of years ago at one fine stay, we had a music celebrity stay with us at one of our villas in Cabo. And he got to the villa and he was paying, I want to say it was about $110,000 for the week. So some substantial amount of vacation rental. And he got there and the coffee he liked wasn't there. Well, we didn't know about the coffee he liked. We'd had coffee in the property, but there was a specific coffee he really wanted. And so we found out, and our concierge team found the coffee in Tampa, Florida, of all places. Kind of weird, but it is what it is. And that's where one of our concierge people lived. We FedExed the coffee to him overnight, got it to him the next day. And because we did that and showed such high level of that unreasonable hospitality, this is before the book came out, by the way, and it was just doing the right thing. Like, this is a guest who's paying a lot of money. He could have been paying $1,000 a night and we would have done the same thing because that's creating that wonderful experience. And so because of that, 2 days later, this was at Thanksgiving, he was staying with us. 2 days later, he booked again another 10-night stay for almost $120,000 over Christmas and New Year's for himself and his family. So because we went that extra mile, bought probably $80 worth of coffee, we generated over $200,000 in revenue.
And that guy could have gone anywhere in the world.
He could have gone anywhere.
Anywhere. And he came back to the same place.
He came back to the same place. And we asked, we talked to him a little bit. And his comment was, if you were able to do that, what a great experience like I'm going to have. The places are clean and all that good stuff, but you cared, you heard, you listened, and you went that extra mile. You didn't have to. I didn't have to have the coffee, but it was important to me. And we saw how important it was to him. So I think that's just kind of a big story, but in the sense of we would have done that, like I said, for someone paying us $1,000 because it's just what you should do. It's the right thing. On the other side, there's so many, but this one really sticks out in my mind as a guest being super creative. So we used to manage some homes in Folly Beach. This was with another company, and it was a home that was on the beach, and a family had booked it for the summer for a week. Well, that summer, for whatever reason, that week they got there, it was pretty much gloomy all week. It was rainy. It rained every single day. And so by day 3, the guests were like, okay, we have these 4 kids. They're driving us nuts. What are we going to do? Well, they decided to go to Home Depot, buy about 100 pounds of sand, and in the living room on the hardwood floor decided to build sand castles because they couldn't go to the beach. So literally, I'm going to give them an A for creativity because that helped them take, some of the stress off the kids. But they literally went and did that, brought in water, built sand castles, did all of that. And when they were leaving, they told us, they said, hey, we did this. We know there's going to be extra cleaning and everything else, but we had to do something because our kids were driving us nuts and we couldn't, sit on the beach because it was raining and there's only so much we could do inside. Well, we had to get creative. So I think that's one of the better guest stories. Another quick one is Mountain Market Villa in Beaver Creek. The home guest was there. It was snowing. a beautiful villa. I think they paid about $10,000-12,000 for the week, ran out of firewood. So because they ran out of firewood, they didn't want to go out and drive in the snow because they weren't comfortable with that because they came from a southern climate. They decided to dismantle a dining room chair and burn it because they needed more firewood. I mean, listen.
I've never heard things like those last two stories were over the top.
I could go on, but, and that's part of it. Listen, it's how you react, I think, to this. And they admitted it. They said, hey, we did this. We'll pay. We could be pissed and angry.
It was grandma's antique chair.
Right.
How do you match that chair back? Poor homeowner.
Yep.
Did you keep the homeowner after that?
We did. The dining room table and chairs were quite expensive. They were custom built in France, and we had to find the chair, find the manufacturer, the artisan who created it, and they were able to recreate the chair. But it was like over $1,000. Then it had to be shipped. And the guest was like, no problem, we'll pay it. And I don't know, sometimes people have more sense, our money than sense. I don't get it, but it is what it is.
That is remarkable. That really is. Is there anything, Michael, you'd like to share with property managers out there? Just anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say this. We're in a great industry. I love our industry. As you can tell, I'm incredibly passionate about it. We have sometimes a lot of criticism about how we do things and, as it relates to a vacation home versus staying in a hotel and things like that. And I think there's a lot of sometimes industry misnomers, if you would, about, the vacation rental industry's horror stories and all these things. I think we're doing a great job, but I think we could do a lot better. I think we have to be a more unified front. As I said earlier, I think we've got great industry professionals that we all know and work with, and we just have to unite. We have to stop fighting with one another and just, I think, come together as an industry where we can do some really, really great things. There is so much opportunity in this industry if you really get creative and think about it. We're in a market here in Wisconsin where people would say, well, it's not the number one leisure destination in the world. By far, it never will be. But we also are in a market where we manage homes in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and every single weekend from September to January, we manage homes for Packer football games. And so we got creative and, found people who had homes we manage on the weekends for football games. In April of 2025, the NFL draft is coming to Green Bay. They're anticipating about 300,000 people in Green Bay.
Wow.
All 4,600 hotel rooms are already rented. So we decided, and, on our website, we have a draft page now where we're finding homeowners who just want to one-off their personal private residence where they primarily live. But for that week, they're willing to leave the home. We've got a draft package that we've, created and are giving them, and they can rent their home for the week and make a substantial amount of money. And I think that's where I'm going with that is we all live in markets, or if you're managing in markets, think about that. Get creative. What are some of the things that you can do to drive that other revenue? And I'll go back to what I said earlier, which is look at your numbers, make sure that, driving toward profitability if you're not there yet. And make sure that you're maximizing your revenue through your fee structures and also doing that on a regular basis because it's going to be helpful.
You know that there's a federal law. You guys don't have to, I'm not a CPA, but there's a federal law that says that you can rent your home for a week and you don't have to pay taxes on it.
Right.
Now, that for homeowners, especially for that type of event that you're talking about, I mean, that's a win-win. They could go stay in their vacation rental and make money that week.
I mean, we have people that are leaving and they're going to go stay in a hotel, couple hundred miles away because they're going to make, anywhere from $20,000 to $40,000 in that week in rental revenue. So,
wow. And it's tax free for that week, guys. Now, my CPA has said to me, don't do that. And there are reasons why he's told me not to do that. So please consult your CPA for that. But that would be a great marketing strategy for events if you're an event town. Holy cow.
I mean, there's so many events that happen in all these different, there's Harley Bike Week in Myrtle Beach. And I mean, there's just every city, it doesn't matter where you are. I guarantee you there are events happening. It could be something as some type of festival, but people are coming and they're needing places to stay. And why not give them the option of a wonderful vacation rental that you manage, versus a Hampton Inn? No harm, no fault of the Hampton Inns of the world, but I think they'll have a much better time and a much better experience staying in one of your homes.
Michael, thank you so much for being on the show. I have thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Great.
You have so much information. I mean, there were so many directions we could take because you have enough experience to really delve deep into lots of topics. So if people want to reach out to you because of your knowledge, how would they do that? And is that okay if they do that?
Oh, without a doubt. And first and foremost, thank you for having me. And I'd love to come back and chat about anything else at any given time. I'm more than happy to do that. Yeah, I think the best way to reach me is my email, which is it's easy. It's Michael F., which is my last name. So Michael F. at thesimplelifehospitality.com. Michael F. at thesimplelifehospitality.com. Or you can go to simpleliferentals.com and inquire there, and then they'll reach me somehow that way as well.
Well, thank you again. And I just want to mention, you've been a Make-A-Wish volunteer for many, many years. And I just applaud you on that. That is a really special thing that you do. And I think that you should get accolades for that. So I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's near and dear to my heart for a lot of personal reasons. And it's a phenomenal organization. And I'm glad I can be part of it.
Thanks, Michael. I'll have you again.
Great. Thanks so much. Yeah.
This episode of How We Grow was brought to you by Blue Tent Marketing. To find out more about how Blue Tent Marketing can help grow your vacation rental business, visit bluetent.com. Make sure to search for How We Grow in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found, and hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. On behalf of the team here at Inhabit, thanks for listening.